I think it's important that now that time has gone by and more people are sort of like waking up to the reality that Israel and by extension the U.S. Are committing atrocities. I mean, it's a genocide. Palestinians are going to be victims in the story of this forever. And they will be justified in hopefully becoming free someday. Hopefully someday soon, whenever that can be. But the evidence that's coming out is just like, not only is it harrowing, but it's like, important to talk about, I think. They've been interviewing doctors. This is the New York Times. I don't have a New York Times subscription, so they won't let me read the article in full, but we don't have to read the article in full because it would just be a lot of this stuff. They're finding, after having talked with 65 doctors, they have and paramedics and nurses and stuff, they're seeing targeted attacks on children. Dr. Mark Perlmutter, an orthopedic and hand surgeon from Rocky Mount, North Carolina, who is there. There are a lot of Americans and stuff that are working in Gaza right now to try to help. I saw several children shot with high-velocity bullet wounds in both the head and chest. I don't know how you can read this as a Zionist and think anything other than like, oh, we fucked up. This is us doing bad stuff. This isn't good, and this isn't isolated either. Like, this isn't just like once. This is like every doctor they talk to. Dr. Nadal Farah, anesthesiologist from Toledo, Ohio. I saw many children. In my experience, the gunshot wound was often to the head. Many had non-curable permanent brain damage. It was mostly a daily occurrence to have children arrive at the hospital with gunshot wounds to the head. So gunshot wounds to the head daily with children. And we've seen, and like, we'll hear an apologist for the IDF come in and they will say human shields or Hamas is hiding in hospitals or some shit. And it's just like, how do you justify this? We're seeing videos of children playing soccer and getting murdered. You know what I mean? That's not like, it's not coincidence. This is systemic. This is part of the charter. This is what genocide looks like. You're herding them into small corridors, telling them that this will be escape, and then bombing them, and then shooting them. This is just about the children right now. It's really easy for them when they think like Asman and don't actually see them as human. Oh yeah, the dehumanization is core, central to it. Dr. Aaliyah Katan, anesthesiologist and critical care doctor from Costa Mesa, California. I saw an 18-month-old little girl with a gunshot wound to the head. Another one. Dr. Kawaja Ikram, maybe? Orthopedic surgeon, Dallas, Texas. One day while in the ER, I saw a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, each with a single bullet hole to their head. When asked what happened, their father and brother said that they had been told that Israel was backing out of Khan Yunis, so they returned to see if anything was left of their house. There was, they said, a sniper waiting who shot both children. Shot the children. Dr. Mohammed Rasul Abu Nuar, probably butchering some of that, general bariatric and foregut surgeon, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. One night in the emergency department, over the course of 4 hours, I saw 6 children between the ages of 5 and 12, all with a single gunshot wound to the skull. How much evidence do they need? Nina, how do you say this, actually? Ing? Or am I wrong? Emergency nurse from New York. Pediatric gunshot wound patients were treated on the floor, often bleeding out on the floor of the hospital due to lack of space, equipment, and staff support. Many died unnecessarily because of the conditions that Israel puts on them, of course. Dr. Irfan Galari, a plastic and reconstructive surgeon from Chantilly, Virginia. Our team cared for about 4 or 5 children ages 5 to 8 years old that were all shot with single gunshots to the head. They all presented to the emergency room at the same time. They all died. Rania Afana? Paramedic from Savannah, Georgia. I saw a child who had been shot in the jaw. No other part of his body was affected. He was fully awake and aware of what was going on. He stared at me while he choked on his own blood as I tried to suction the blood out with a broken suction unit. I mean, like, horrific. This is the kind of shit they're seeing. Couldn't believe the number of kids I saw shot in the head. To my surprise, running, yeah, me too, every single day. Everyone's corroborating this. Everybody is corroborating this. I worked as a trauma surgeon in Gaza from March 25th to April 8th. I volunteered in Ukraine and Haiti, and I grew up in Flint, Michigan. I've seen violence and worked in conflict zones. But of the many things that stood out about working in the hospital in Gaza, one got to me. Nearly every day I was there, I saw a new young child who had been shot in the head or chest, virtually all of whom went on to die, 13 in total. At the time, I assumed this had to be the work of a particularly sadistic soldier located nearby. But after returning home, I met an emergency medicine physician who had worked in a different hospital in Gaza 2 months before me. I couldn't believe the number of kids I saw shot in the head. Told him to my surprise upon yet to. So this is like every single day. Here's an American doctor talking about this.
If you can think of something bad that is happening in the world, it's happening in Gaza or to people from Gaza. The things
like the way this guy talks about it is just like, it's so matter of fact, but also like you can see it in his fucking face. It's just horrible.
That I saw there that really stood out or really impacted me and made me realize what's actually going on were a few. Number one was the malnutrition and starvation, which is deliberate. That's perfectly obvious. Even American senators are giving speeches saying that it's deliberate.
This guy would be called an extremist, right? This guy's called an extremist. And he's just like, look, obviously deliberate starvation happening. And they're calling for it, right? Even the U.S. government, even fucking Joe Biden, who is the number one receiver of AIPAC money, even Joe Biden is like, hey, buddy, you got to give them more food, which is as stern as he'll ever get. And you know it's bad if Joe Biden's saying it. Even a little bit of pushback. That's got to be pretty bad. So this is fucking disgusting, man.
The second thing was the targeting of children with gunfire. That I was not expecting to see, actually. I knew how many children had been killed. I knew about the massive killing in general, but I just assumed it was all from bombings. But that doesn't explain children getting shot in the head. Oh boy, that doesn't explain children getting shot in the head.
Literally, shit's happening out there right now. Jesus fucking Christ.
And definitely not every day. I mean, literally every day I was there, I saw a child shot in the head. I kept the journal when I was there, and I just went through it because some reporters asked me to. And
different fucking... All these doctors desperately are saying every single day I'm seeing children shot in the head. One bullet.
And like quite literally every day I was there, I saw a child shot in the head. That's not an accident. That's deliberate targeting of children for death.
I don't know how you can look at the evidence and see anything other than what is right in front of you. Tired of being asked if I condemn Hamas. Do you fucking condemn Israel? Do you condemn this?
That's murder.
The injury patterns I've seen most consistently are things like crush injuries as a result of Israeli airstrikes on homes. Between 60 to 70% of those injured and those who make it to the hospital are actually children.
Wow.
I can tell you that I have seen injuries that indicate deliberate targeting of children and deliberate targeting of civilians.
Just totally different corroboration. Like, this is obvious to the people there that are seeing the evidence. Deliberate targeting of children, obviously.
I've seen things like gunshot wounds to the abdomen of children, to the chest. I have documented evidence of gunshot wounds to the extremities of babies.
Documented evidence. Look, this is going to come out eventually. There's going to be international trials. These will all be documented war crimes, and this will be labeled genocide, hopefully, as like it's obvious. And this is it's so sad to me that the state of Israel is like going to be associated with like this kind of stuff forever. They've nationalism and fascism just are fucked. And so like the legacy of Israel isn't like ooh, look at the survivors running away from the Holocaust and forcibly colonizing a space. It's look, they did it again, right? They just did it again in a modern way. They just kept going. Just more fucking suffering. In the name of what?
Helicopter attacks on children, gunshot wounds to the chest of children. I saw things like Israeli landmines exploding on children who were playing in a cemetery. So the injury patterns and the things that you see as a doctor are quite horrifying, more so than the first time around. I think this second mission, the injuries have been a lot worse and a lot more catastrophic and devastating.
Oh, she didn't say the thing I thought she was going to say. I thought she was going to talk about her sticking her hand into a chest cavity. But maybe that was a different doctor. Wow. Anyway, that literally was a different doctor. The atrocity that I thought we were going to hear the details of was a totally different atrocity and a different doctor altogether. It was not this clip. I thought it was her for some reason. I don't know what can be done at this point besides trying to make sure that accelerationist Donald Trump doesn't get in and status quo Kamala, who says she wants a ceasefire, does, because these are our two options and that's the best one. I don't think, I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me that the history books are going to write about this in a way that Israel would not like. The modern books being written about it right now are books that Israel doesn't like. So I hope this wakes people up, and I let it be the last one. It's not going to be, but maybe it should be. The very last fucking time. The winners used to write the history, but obviously, like, in the modern age, even since World War II, like, the victims of these crimes have been writing. You have, you know, obviously the Jewish writings under Holocaust. You have books like Wretched of the Earth by Frantz Fanon. You have, I mean, just throughout time. And obviously, like, you know, in America, we have black writers and their experience talking about, you know, slavery and everything. But, like, it's just, we have such a modern, it's fucking 4K now. You know what I mean? It's just, like, right in front of you. It doesn't take months and months and months to get the information. It takes seconds, you know? There's people in Gaza right now tweeting. You can go look at their Twitter. You know what I mean? It's happening right now. I don't think this is going to leave people thinking, oh, yeah, Israel, great job. There's like a 70-30 split on people who think there should be, like, at minimum, a ceasefire.